Brenda, I asked our director, Brian Matthews, to keep the song, the Sunrise Extra theme song, playing a little bit longer as we start the program. See, there you got Brenda bobbing and weaving.
Yeah, come on, Rod. Let's do it.
It's a great track. It's exclusive. You can't hear this song on the radio.
Am I bobbing?
You can't find this on iTunes. It's exclusive to Sunrise Extra, and it's a fantastic song. I think our viewers appreciate it as much as we do.
Nina would not let us get away with dancing. She'd get right to business, but she's off today, so we do what we want.
What if we just sat here and listened to the song for 20 minutes, Brenda?
Oh, yeah!
Oh, he's turning up. Yeah, Brian. I like the way you roll. Look at Oh my gosh, we've gotten off track already and we just started.
The show today, Brenda, is about the man in the middle. He is Rodney Hill, Rod back from vacation. We thought, hey, he's the most rested man on the team. Let's put the man to work. So you are the driving force behind Sunrise Extra today. We can cover a few things, but two jump out to Brenda and I. Number one, summer outlook. We are now in the thick of summer. July starts tomorrow, so we always love when you give us your seasonal outlooks, be it summer, winter, spring, or fall. And then two, my man was in Missouri for the better part of the last 2 weeks, so a lot of people are curious about travel. You know, you traveled by plane, you were away for a while, so we can get into that as well. But where would you like to start, Rod?
Well, let's start with my trip. I did have a lot of people asking me, Rod, what I had people on my Facebook saying, we're planning a trip. What was it like in the airports? What was it like on the plane? We took Southwest Airlines, and big kudos to them. You know, when you stepped on the plane, this is a good thing, I suppose, but you could really smell the disinfectant, right? That they had sprayed or wiped everything down. Right. And it was interesting because the one flight, they came on the PA and they said, we've noticed a lot of you wiping things down, and you're obviously welcome to do that. But they reminded people that had just been done, and the planes are probably the cleanest they've ever been. And I was looking around like, is this plane clean? Yeah, it was. It was interesting though. A couple things. You know, the planes, I think all the airlines are pretty much uniformly doing the same, where if you're a family traveling, you can fill all 3 seats on a row, if you're a family traveling together, which we were, the 3 of us. Otherwise, the middle section is not being sold. The middle seat, you're not supposed to sit there. The majority of our flights were actually pretty full, minus that. I mean, if you take out the middle seat, that's somewhat 50 seats, I think, generally speaking, that they couldn't sell. But they were pretty full, the majority of them, with that said. But when you were in the airports were pretty empty. And it's a reminder that the airlines have really cut back the number of flights to get to what's a feasible operating schedule.
So did you guys wear masks on board?
Inside the airports themselves, Yeah, so masks required in Southwest, and I think that's pretty uniform. I'm not positive, but I think that's becoming pretty uniform for all of the airplanes. Now, not all the airports. Now, for example, in St. Louis, the Lambert Airfield in St. Louis, and Missouri has been open much more so than Oregon, masks were not required. And I would say it was probably 50-50 of people wearing a mask or not. At PDX, of course, it is required, and everybody had a mask on in the airport. Now, on board, the flight attendants would constantly remind you that you were supposed to be wearing your mask. You could pull it down to drink or nibble. You're still able to bring your own, your own hamburger on if you want to or whatever, and your own beverages. Now, they downgraded their service to just water and like a little, snack pouch of pretzels.
I have this picture in my mind, Brenda Braxton, of Rodney Hill walking onto the plane, right, kind of settling into his seat with his burger in one hand and his soda pop in the other. Nibbling, as he describes it. If I nibble real slow, I guess I can keep the mask down the whole time.
He's an expert nibbler.
The other thing I was thinking, go ahead, Rod.
No, I would say that does enter your mind. And I don't know, I'd also be curious to hear from our viewers. I swear, when I have my mask, and we talked about this on the show today, that it's proper to wear it over your nose and your mouth. But honestly, for me, if it covers my nose too long, I feel myself almost hyperventilating or getting short of breath, and I acknowledge I will pull mine down, and to the point that I'm thinking about seeing my doctor to see if I can get some sort of a mental note, because I do have a mild heart condition, and I'm wondering if restricting my oxygen flow doesn't make me feel that much more uncomfortable when I have my nose covered.
I did not see the conversation.
No, I'm being serious. I mean, totally serious.
No, did I not know this?
Yes, Brenda. Well, no, it's nothing big. I was born with something called pulmonary stenosis, and it basically means the valve on my pulmonary valve on my heart only opens up halfway. So when I'm exercising, for example, my heart has to beat twice as fast.
Oh, wow.
But I am wondering if that's tied, because I really feel really uncomfortable quickly when I have my nose covered. So anyway, that's I know.
Okay, I want you to go check
Weirdly
that
enough,
out
Brenda,
ASAP.
That's my experience.
In my early 20s, I was diagnosed with upper ventricular tachycardia. So my heart is also not fantastic. Does anyone on the show have a good working heart?
I got you too. If anything happens.
When people go, hey, Drew,
911.
you and Rod have no heart. I go, no, we have a heart. They just aren't great working hearts.
Like meh.
Jennifer Taft is chiming in. She was wondering,
Yes, that's
where has
correct.
Rod been? Where did he go on vacation? He went to visit his family, his parents in Missouri. And Rod, remind us again, which anniversary, what number
Missouri,
were
yeah.
they celebrating?
So a couple reasons to go back. Number one, on June 19th, my mom and dad celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary. My parents are in their mid-80s. Yeah, it was great. My daughter Natasha made a beautiful cake for them, and we celebrated, and that was wonderful. And no reason for me to think my mom and dad aren't going to be around into their 90s. You know, knock on wood, cross fingers, all that. But very blessed that they're both healthy. Now, with that said, my mom also, one reason we went back is she had a shoulder replacement. And so we helped her out with that, which went really well. The doc said everything was great. I was supposed to be back to work yesterday, but it took us a little bit longer, my mother a little bit longer, to get the pain under control after the surgery. And that's why we postponed coming home. But she's doing great now, off of the heavier pain pills.
Good.
And again, very blessed that she's doing well.
So, real quick, Jennifer Taft, Rod,
right.
this is for you. She says, Rod, wear a shield instead of a mask. You know, in
could be
front
a
of you, so
solution.
it's not
Well, you
so
know, my
close.
wife, because we've talked about that, right? And my wife my wife does everything for me, if you don't know. So she's looking into this for me, because I believe, Brenda, can I ask you, because I know you're Andrew, that suffices. Is that correct? If you have a mask on, that I'd be
Absolutely.
okay just wearing. If I have a face shield, I'd be okay just wearing the mask over my mouth.
Yep, because it
So we are
covers your
looking into
face,
that.
it's
Yeah, we are
protective.
looking into that.
A face
that way you
covering
can
of any
breathe
sort,
better.
Rod, does the trick. A face covering, covering your nose and mouth. We have two other viewers, Brenda, chiming in on Rod's described condition. Rhonda says, I have a similar issue. She says she has a heart murmur, so she kind of can see what you're talking about here, Rhonda does.
Which is what mine is.
And then Jennifer says, I don't see a doctor in front of Jennifer's name, but Jennifer Dalton says, Rod, it sounds almost like claustrophobia.
Well, it feels like that. So I'm kind of guessing at what's going on, but the feeling is much like claustrophobia. It really is, to her point. So,
I know, but after
now
he
the
said
good
he
news
had a
is
heart
here, people have
condition.
been wanting me to cover up my face for years. you know.
Stop
The other
it.
thing I was
No,
thinking
I'm fine,
about.
dear. When I was younger,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you probably had a funny story coming.
No, when I
wanna
was
hear
younger,
it.
I had to see the. No. I was going to say I had to see a cardiologist until I was like 16, like every year, and do these tests, and then I was cleared. But I am wondering if it's like Jennifer points out, the heart murmur doesn't play a small role in that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, you get that
But real
taken
quick, just to
care of.
wrap
I'm
up
gonna
kind
be
of the
worried
airline
about
story. Yeah, oh, thank you, dear. But to wrap up the airline story, because people have been asking me, you're still allowed, at least with Southwest Airlines, that was my experience, again, to bring on your own food, bring on your water, and really the only thing that has changed is, if you're not traveling with 3 people or more, you're expected to leave the middle seat open, and you have to have your mask on during the flight, and that's it. Everything else was the same. It was really, honestly, a piece of cake.
Okay, good.
And the lines are short. So that's, as we all know, that's a bonus, right? That the lines in the
Huge.
airport are short, yeah.
Brenda, are you
Absolutely.
thinking
All right.
like I am? Like, what is the point of that middle seat being open? I know it's something. It's better than being shoulder to shoulder with someone, but that certainly isn't 6 feet of social distance.
Yeah.
No, I'll take it though. I mean, I'm glad to hear that Southwest
Yeah, every
held
little
up
bit
its
helps,
end of
right?
the bargain, and it was easy peasy. I am not getting on an airplane right now because of COVID.
Right.
I'll just stay where I am.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about all the people who have questions for you weather-wise? Because,
Let's flip it.
Rod, I feel like when you do your winter
Yeah.
outlook and we start talking about snow, everybody snaps to attention, including myself. It is one of my favorite things that you do all year. But you also do kind of a summer outlook. Can you talk about, first and foremost, you know, some of the things that catch your eyes since we're starting July tomorrow?
Well, yeah, and I want to talk, there's a pivot. And to come clean, I really haven't rolled up my sleeves and completely done my own work on the summer outlook this year. What I've been doing is kind of monitoring what the National Weather Service is saying. And then based on what they're saying, I've just kind of been digging around a little bit and looking. But if we can go, Brian, can we take that graphic on my weather computer? We showed you this on Sunrise. You can also see this on my KGW Rod Hill Facebook page. So on the left side, notice the blue color over all of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, down to Northern California. This keeps us actually in a below normal temperature projection all the way through July 13th. And if you look on the right side, the green area to our north, we're close to that, so which would indicate, you know, some shower activity for the first 2 weeks of July as well. But what's going on here is, if you go back into April, as far back as April, and continuing in May, the outlooks from all the main agencies and even some of the private meteorology companies that I pay for their products, because I like to see what they're doing as well, everybody was on board with this hot, 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 hot. It was going to be a hot summer. It was going to be a hot June, hot July, hot August, hot September. And then in the month of May, all of a sudden, some of the outlooks started to change. And of course, we're going to wrap up June with the 5th most rainfall all time out at PDX, about 3.5 inches. And the fact that June's temperature is probably going to average really within a 1/10 of a degree or so of being normal. But the outlooks are really starting to push back now. And I just got done looking at some of the individual models, the European model, the Canadian model, the United States has a couple models, their meteorology organizations. None of them show any prolonged heat in terms of a hot overall August, a hot overall September. They all kind of waffle, like a little heat and then no heat for a while, then a little heat and then no heat for a while. You may remember last year, we finally broke what had seemingly been a long stretch of the majority of summers being really hot. We had that 31, 90-degree day, record-breaking summer 2 summers ago. Last year, we only hit 90 11 times. And so far this year, we've only done it twice. And the hottest was 93, and that was back on the 23rd of this month. But is it possible we don't hit 90 again until the latter part of July or the 3rd week of July?
It does seem like it goes in waves, though,
so,
right? Because,
you know, what this does...
Because, Rob, when I think back about, I remember 2009 being a wildly hot summer. We moved that summer. We spent 3 months in an apartment when the boys were about 18 months old. And we had our dog and my wife and I in a 2-bedroom apartment with these 2 newborn. It was just terribly hot and awful, 2009. I also remember like around 12, 13, 14, or 11, 12, 13, really cool summers. Then, like you said, the last few have been very hot, and now maybe we have a cool one again. These are all unscientific numbers
last
pouring
year
out of my brain, by the way.
the kind of the break.
Go ahead,
Well,
Rod.
it amazes me, Drew, that usually when you speak like that, you're actually pretty correct. And I still am wondering why that is.
He's a savant.
Kudos to you. But anyway,
Definitely like the weather.
so back to the outlook. So my point is, I would say we're down to, at best, a 50-50 shot that we're going to have any what I would consider to be hot months overall. I mean, because again, some of the outlooks are showing August may not even be that hot. So what does this do? I answered Lee, who writes me questions, which I love, on my Facebook, and I wrote Lee an explanation yesterday before I went to bed, but he was concerned. I know some of you are too. We've had all this rain, and then you hear, oh my goodness, that's going to grow the underbrush, and that's going to make fire season bad. Let me tell you this. No matter what the weather pattern is, you can always find some nugget to twist it and make it sound bad. But the overall fact that is always true is cooler and wet wins. That's going to always be your best case scenario for a fire season that's not going to be that bad, assuming you don't have just some unprecedented outbreak time and time again of lightning strikes. So we're already now delaying the start of fire season effectively with the fact that June was wet and dry. There's no reason to think July is going to be much of a different pattern for the next 2 weeks. And the experts always tell you, with no exceptions, what's the most important thing about fire season? The number of days. So if you can delay the start,
Good.
there are no signs that the fall is going to be unusually hot or dry. If you can delay the start, Now you've shrunken fire season. That is always good news.
Look at you. We just wind Rod up, and he answers all these questions. I posted the question, what do you want to know from Rod, on my Facebook page. So you answered Janine's question about hot summer, cool summer. You answered Kate Schuyler's question about fire season. Rod, are you ready for one that's kind of outside the box? You want to give it a shot if I read it to you?
Yeah, fire away.
So Chris Burson is saying, will the Sahara dust storm affecting the South have anything to do with our weather pattern?
So I don't think so. Now keep in mind a couple of things. Number one, the reports from that dust storm were greatest down in places like Alabama and the Gulf Coast states last week. And that has already, if you look at imagery, has already started to thin out. And there are no modeling projections that significantly throw any of that our direction. And that smoke plume, which got a lot of media attention, to me it was really unusual for the eastern U.S. to have something like that type of haze. And you guys probably showed some of the pictures on the news in the last days of that. But here out west, it was very similar looking to some of the thick forest fire plumes that we've dealt with, not so much last year, but the 2-3 years before that. And it's just not a long enough scale to really have any significant impact in our weather. And again, there are no imagery loops from modeling that shows that working up into our area. It's been mainly well to our south, and it looks like mainly it's already thinning out in the places of the Gulf Coast and Texas where it was kind of bad for a while.
Had Brenda asked me that same question, I would have answered it the same way.
I spent a lot of time last evening. Yeah, I spent a lot of time last evening brushing up on everything. I'm like, what could they possibly be asking me in my first day back from vacation? Because I didn't want to come across as not being briefed. So what else you got? Huh?
I'm just going to share some comments because we have a faithful following on Sunrise Extra, and some of those followers are following us right now on Facebook. Good morning, Jenna Pissarro, longtime viewer. She says, since public pools and gyms with pools may not be open for a while, this cooler summer weather you're talking about is probably a welcome relief. I would agree with that, Jenna, for sure. Katie, good morning, Katie, watching us here on Facebook. Yeah. She says, I am more than okay with a mild summer because if it gets warmer than 75 degrees, I need either a body of water or an air conditioner. I'm right there with you.
Agreed.
Let me ask you this, Brenda, a question for you, weather related.
Yeah.
If I told you the rest of the summer, today through September 1st, we were going to have 69 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, very little rain, that was going to be your summer, 60 days straight. Or we're going to have 91 degrees, sunny days, very little rain, every day for the rest of the summer, which would you take?
You know what? I am a through and through Oregonian. I don't mind the cooler weather at all. If you had said 80s, I would have gone with that. You bumped me into the 90s, and I'm just annoyed. So I would take 69.
Okay. No, the 80s is too easy. It's got to be 69 versus 91. Cloudy skies versus sunny skies. Because some people think we're crazy, Brenda, for choosing the 69 and mostly cloudy. But I'm with you. You can do everything in that weather, right?
Yes. 100% you can.
Yeah. Well, the one let me stick up for the people for a second that have boats and like to be on the water.
That's their problem.
For a lot of those people, that's when they really do want the sun and the warm water and the warm weather, right? So they can jump in the water and that type of thing.
I have a few neighbors like that. Oh man, I can't even get my boat out.
Everybody.
I'm like, too bad for you and your boat.
The tiny violins. I don't have a boat.
Yep. More comments this morning. Jennifer Taft says yes to the 75 idea.
Okay.
She'll take that for sure. I also love when Rod paints the pictures for us, because first he was painting that picture of himself, Brenda, entering the airplane, and I could kind of see Rod doing that. Then he paints this picture last night. He's laying in bed answering viewer emails. I believe he said the viewer's name was Lee. And for some reason, Rod, when you're painting that picture, I envision you laying in bed with like a pajama bottom top with buttons on it and short sleeves and like pajama bottom shorts. Am I painting a correct picture?
Why do you have to?
I had my Kansas City Chiefs. Ball cap on.
Okay.
I had my Kansas City Chiefs ball cap on. Otherwise, the picture is exactly correct.
This is like
Well, I like
a
to have it
bad,
near me at all times.
a
you know?
bad
I mean,
joke.
we are the
What are
Super
you
Bowl
wearing?
champions.
Natalie Stone says she'll take sun and low to mid 70s with a good rain once a week. Now, Natalie, that's perfect conditions, right? I would take that as well. Sun and low to mid 70s with a good rain once a week. I'm asking you extreme. 69 and cloudy, 91 and sunny every day for 60 days.
Hey, Rod, real quick, because we haven't talked about this on the stream yet.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah.
give us a little preview of the 4th of July weekend? We're supposed to be kind of staying local and low-key with our celebrations. But, boy, you have come through big
Right.
time if that holds up.
Yeah, I just pulled up the 7 days so Director Brian can show that to our viewers. But it looks like Thursday is the day this week that we start to pull out of this little pool of cooler weather that's dropping over us right now. So by Friday, we think we're on a run of mostly sunny days. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can see on the 7 day that daytime highs will be right around 80. No reason to believe there's going to be a lot of wind or anything. For people that will be enjoying firework fun, you know, fire danger is relatively low compared to what it can be this time of the year. So that's all good news. That is actually, Brenda, something I was curious about coming back home, was whether added firework restrictions had been put into place. I know up here in Clark County, the usual spots have the big tents out and everything. So I'm assuming the answer to my question is there are no added restrictions. Is that true or not true?
We just did a story yesterday, and we were talking about, you know, the usual suspects up your way. You know, when you could do it between this and this time, and so yeah, nothing added.
Our viewers still chiming in this morning.
Well, I know
Ron.
all the big. No, I was going to say, I know all the big celebrations, like at the Fort Vancouver, has been canceled.
Right.
So, and the people my friends, everybody's kind of wondering, does that mean everybody's going to be going more crazy than normal? You know,
Yes.
because the big shows.
Apparently there
Yes.
is.
So I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
There is still a fireworks show that's considered to be pretty large happening in Clark County up at the fairgrounds this year. So not at Fort Vancouver, but they're doing one at the fairgrounds, which is not for the public to
Oh, is that
attend.
right? Okay.
They're going to do it, and I believe it's going to be broadcast, not on our station. So you can watch it on TV,
Oh, all right.
or you
Okay.
can watch it from wherever you may live near and around that Clark County area. But there's going to be a big fireworks show up at the fairgrounds, just not one for in-person public viewing.
But Rod, you're right, because
Okay.
we did a story yesterday as well,
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
vendors up in Clark County are seeing a surge in demand from, you know, individuals, families
Oh, they
wanting
are.
to set off their own fireworks. We've talked ourselves out, you guys.
Is that
I
it?
should apologize to our. Are we done?
Well,
thanks for catching me up on the news. I feel like I should apologize to the other viewers. I use this to catch myself up, so thank you.
So good to have you
So
back.
many good comments on the stream. We thank you all for joining us on Sunrise Extra. Brian Matthews, should we close this show like we started it? Yeah, there's the music, baby. Jamming on a Tuesday. Back on a Wednesday. We'll see you then.